What I will tell you is we have seen an increase in crime over the course of the pandemic.
To blame COVID for the rise in crime is at best disingenuous. Homicides are at near record levels this year, and there's been a spike in organized shoplifting by criminals who know a non-enforced misdemeanor when they see one.
You have people come and break into your store while there's customer shopping and there's children in there.
Getting blamed for this mayhem is a generation of so-called progressive prosecutors and their political enablers.
Mayor Lightfoot, I don't know her, I don't know Kim Foxx. They're probably good people. They probably are trying to do good for their community, but they're doing bad for their community.
What's worse, these prosecutors deny there's a problem.
We don't have a crisis of lawlessness. We don't have a crisis of crime. We don't have a crisis of violence.
Across America, the principle of prevention has been retired, with DAs like Los Angeles' George Gascon suggesting his job is really early childhood intervention.
The juvenile brain actually is fairly easily reprogrammed with the right levels of intervention.
But for all the grief getting doled out to these prosecutors, it's important to remember they were not appointed to their positions of power. They were elected by voters. Starting about 2016 and then repeated in 2020's post-George Floyd election, these candidates got elected in a progressive tide of dissatisfaction stoked by politicians on the left.
Ladies and gentlemen, I am here today to formally declare systemic racism as a public health crisis here in Chicago.
There needs to be unrest in the streets for as long as there's unrest in our lives.
And so, as progressives stirred the pot on issues like incarceration rates, district attorneys pulled back on prosecution, focusing on areas like bail reduction. The effect? In a worst-case scenario, criminals like 39-year-old Darrell Brooks get released from prison just days before the Waukesha rampage on what Milwaukee County District Attorney John Chisholm called, quote, inappropriately low bail, $1,000.
When you have 2 felony cases pending with 6 felonies together, it should have been $10,000 at least for those cases.
Only voters can stop the wave of crime, and so perhaps now's the time to stop listening to progressives in denial.
They perpetuate this idea of crime wave, crime wave, crime wave.
And start listening to boots on the ground.
We absolutely have an issue with violent crime.
Will the electorate change its mind? Chicago and New York offer the most interesting clues.
We had the first black female prosecutor elected into Cook County as a state's attorney, and she was second guest, Kim Foxx.
But it wasn't just the Jussie Smollett case. In Kim Foxx's first 3 years, she dismissed all charges in some 25,000 felony cases, including those for murders, shootings, and sex crimes. Today, her popularity is falling.
When you have mass amounts of people put back on the streets that have traditionally been held in jail, you're seeing some of that permeate here as well. I mean, that's just a fact.
In New York, incoming Mayor Eric Adams came to office on a ticket to clean up crime. And despite threats of bloodshed from Black Lives Matter, he's staying true to his word.
This city is not going to be a city of riots. It's not going to be a city of burning. This is going to be a city where we're going to be safe. We're going to have effective policing that's not heavy-handed. We're going to have the backs of our police officers, but we're going to hold them accountable to do their job.
Mr. Adams faces a tough battle. 4 of New York's 5 boroughs now have progressive prosecutors. But his appointment of Keishant Sewell as incoming police commissioner is a good start.
We'll arrest violent criminals, take guns off the street, and then build the cases to help keep them off.
In a saner world, anyone in politics who had been given such a visible, real-world demonstration of policy failure on this scale would stand back and rethink at least some of it. Progressives don't do that, ever. Fixing the consequences of these destructive elections is going to be up to the voters.